Ooh, 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 ah, ah, ah. What's up, horror fans and Rice fans? Interview the Vampire stands. I am Pete, here from the Lastercast with my good friend Danny, Dr. Zayas, G-O-D over there. Danny, did you see that fucking Lestat song from Comic-Con?
I did, and had I done the intro, I was going to do the exact same thing.
That's
I
fucking
was going to
awesome.
ask why I got a long face. I got
Yeah.
long fangs. I'm an actor. I love the spoken word aspect of the song, which is fantastic. Uh,
Yes.
yeah,
Wouldn't you say? So we're talking about Sam Reed. They did a little teaser trailer for season 3 of Interview with the Vampire. There was a bunch of interviews with some of the cast and the executive producers. But besides that, this video with Sam Reed, it's like it's a little scene where basically it's just a tight focus on him, and he's being interviewed as Lestat, and then he sings. Now, I was trying to think of the influences. I thought like Elvis might be an influence. I definitely thought like Tim Curry as Frankenfurter was an influence. What did you think?
I mean, he has that like the eye makeup and kind of like a glam persona. So it kind of felt like almost a modern day Brett Michaels or like a early 90s Trent Reznor. He kind of gave off that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
But uh, first of all, I'm just really glad that we are getting to talk about this show again.
Yes.
I had so much fun covering season 2, so much fun speculating and fantasy booking, as we say, season 3, and now we basically have the full confirmation that we are getting the Vampire Lestat.
Oh. Yes. Hell yeah. Look at this. We got Wild Majorum Diesel Punk, a frequent commenter when we do these live videos like this. And she asked, "Did you see the long face video?" Well, of course. I listened to the whole song just besides the little teaser trailer, and I played the song for my kids. They thought it was pretty ridiculous. They were making fun of me for singing it.
I love that they released the teaser trailer. Yeah, Bowie definitely. I could definitely see some Bowie in there with the outfit and but I
The
love that they
androgyny.
released the teaser, and in the teaser he's being interviewed by Daniel about the book, but he's like he needs water, and like Daniel starts coughing, and it then just kind of goes into this cut of all these different cuts of Lestat sitting there with his glam rock outfit on, and then like he's got blood on his hands and on his lips, and the song is playing in the background, and then they released the legit like 4-minute music video for it, which
Yeah.
I got a kick out of. It made work a lot easier this morning. I think I listened to it 2 or 3 separate times.
Yeah.
um I I think it's very obvious, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but it doesn't seem like Sam Reed is like a singer. And I think
Okay.
that they wrote this song kind of intentionally to work around that, because it's definitely him doing the lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, that comment reminds me of Back to the Future.
Yeah.
You might not get this yet, but your kids are gonna love it.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that Sam Reed isn't a singer. I know that he has this like real dedication to the book, that he's read the books to really get into that character. Um, Lestat is a singer. He's an actor. He plays the piano. I think he plays the violin, multiple instruments. It's so funny because in real life, Jacob Anderson, Louie, is actually the musician. He's a singer and he has a different name. But I'm pretty sure I haven't read the Vampire Lestat in a long time. I'm pretty sure those lyrics for that song "Long Face" are in the book. Like I think that's like taken right out of the book.
it 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 certainly could be like we were. That's that's a very good point by the comment. Lou Reed probably Lou Reed's most famous song is almost spoken word.
Right.
But we were looking. IGN had an interview with Asad Zaman, Delaney Hale, Sam Reed, and then the EPs, Roland Jones and Mark Johnson, while they're covering San Diego Comic-Con, and they're talking about, you know, you could just tell the dedication to the books that these, not just the EPs have. First of all, that's great for the EPs to have a devotion to the book, because you could tell that this isn't like a series that's just being made to rip an IP and make money off of an IP. They have a genuine love. I think it's Roland Jones who says in that interview, "And first."
And first, he does say that, yes.
And and then Sam Reed actually discussing like music, going from like classical music to becoming a rock star. And Sam Reed has a line where he just says, "Well, Mozart was a rock star. And my dad brought me up watching Amadeus, and, you know, Tom Hulce Amadeus is like the consummate, you know, playboy rock star." So
that's so funny that he made that little quote there, because like there's at least two scenes. There's one scene in the first season, and there's a scene in the second season. One is when they're doing that big party at the end of the first season, and he looks like Mozart from that movie. And then he looks like Mozart when they're doing that play in France as well.
Yeah.
You know?
But I do love that Roland Jones says "and first," and it really does show. And we've listened to a couple Sam Reed interviews where he talks about how he's a passionate reader of the books. And just on a personal note for you, I know you've told me since we started covering the show that the Vampire Lestat is your favorite of those books that you've read.
Yes.
And I'm so happy because I have not read the books. And my only exposure to the Vampire Lestat is Queen of the Damned. Where Lestat was Jonathan Davis from Korn.
Yeah, no thanks.
And while I grew up and I'm a passionate defender of new metal music from the early 2000s, that movie just wasn't it. And I'm so excited to see Sam Reed, who's been my favorite part of this show for 2 seasons, to hopefully like get to be the main character again.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because like that just shows how wrong that Queen of the Damned adaptation was, right? Because they make Lestat sound like he's the lead singer of Korn. And we've kind of come full circle, I think, with music. You know, rock doesn't seem to be as relevant. And the idea, like when we were fantasy booking this Vampire Lestat season, we were talking about like, well, would he be a rock star? Because like rock isn't like the dominant thing in music the way it was in like the 70s and 80s when Anne Rice was writing these books. I think that, you know, so while Majorum writes, it reminds me of T-Rex as well. They're saying of Lestat's music. But I also got vibes of like the White Stripes. There's this one song by Metric called Black Sheep, which they play that in Scott Pilgrim versus the World or whatever. That song reminds me a lot of the Lestat song too, where it just kind of hits you with a ding, 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 ding. So it's kind of giving me like a little bit of Metric, White Stripes. There's a band called The Darkness, which I think Lestat kind of looks like the lead singer of that.
They're the ones that I believe in the thing called Love.
Right. And then there's a band that I really like, and Lestat's voice does not sound like this lead singer at all, but the style and stuff reminded me of this band. They're called Foxy Shazam. And that lead singer's got a very high-pitched voice, and Sam Reed's voice is very low and deep, like Bowie, like Lou Reed. So I think it's kind of cool that they're just going all in. They're going with this rock star persona for Lestat versus like some kind of like, I don't know, fucking clubbing person or like K-pop person, you know, like whatever would be relevant nowadays. We're old, you know?
I mean, I'm trying to think of like, who's the biggest male artist right now?
Right, because if you said female, it'd be like Taylor Swift, right? But I don't think Lestat's
like
going to be Taylor Swift.
My daughter, who's like our daughters are very similar in age, and Charlotte loves this person Melanie Martinez and actually got to go see her in concert. She's actually pretty good, but like I'm so out of like modern music as a guy in his 40s that I can't even like think. Like the last concerts I saw were Metallica, and then last week I saw Styx and Foreigner. That's so like
Come
when
sail
I say
away.
I'm out of the loop. Oh, and I did see Sum 41 in Brooklyn not long ago. But Sum
Yeah.
41 is like a 25, 30-year-old punk band.
Oh,
So
I know.
yeah, we're not exactly talking. I'm not going out and seeing the modern artists.
Yeah. I we're a little out of touch. But Chrissy joined the discussion. They say Rolin listed so many artists that are being referenced and are inspiring the sound they're going for. I actually didn't see that part of the discussion. I watched the IGN interview from San Diego Comic-Con. Did you watch any of the other ones? I know there was like an MTV one too.
I didn't. I only watched the IGN one, and then I watched the behind the scenes Sam Reed one, and the actual music video.
Okay. Gotcha. They're going for something like Rocky Horror and Hedwig the Angry Witch.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a good shout out, definitely.
Chrissy, I'm going to show my musical ignorance here. Is Hedwig an actual band? Is that like an actual band, Hedwig and the Angry Itch, or is that just for that movie?
I'm pretty sure that it was a musical.
Okay. Yeah.
No, I don't think Sam Reed would work well within the confines of K-pop.
Yeah.
I'm glad Lestat is doing like a glam rock thing.
Yeah. So, you know what, Danny? We're getting a lot of comments here, which I love. Keep them coming. Let's keep our conversation going, and then if we want to talk about one specific one, I'll kind of reference it. But I'll just keep throwing the comments up because I love y'all's comments. I appreciate it. And then, while Majorum and Chrissy said that Hedwig was a musical. So, while we're talking about those interviews, Danny, they made it sound like Asad Zaman was coming back for this season, right?
I mean, I don't see why he wouldn't come back. He's one of the three main characters. He's not dead, and he does do something fairly substantial at the end of the episode. Well, it was off screen, but he does turn Daniel. I mean, I love Asad Zaman in the IGN interview, who's like, well, we don't know who turned Daniel. It wasn't on screen. And the EPs both kind of look and roll their eyes like, are you kidding?
Yeah. Rolin
doing?
Jones says something like, did you watch the show? And I didn't see him at first, like from far away. His voice sounds just like Daniel's, don't you think?
Eric Bogosian. I thought
yeah.
When I was watching it, and I had like one AirPod in, and I'm going, Eric Bogosian's not on the panel. And it's Rolin Jones, who sounds freakishly like him.
Yeah.
And I was thrown off by that a little bit.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Eric Bogosian then. He's in this teaser trailer too. There's all the influences. Chrissy did a great job listing all the influences that I guess Rolin Jones listed. But Eric Bogosian, he sets up this interview with Lestat, and I think he's the person that says, oh my God, or like, holy shit, that's really him. Like there's this reverence for Lestat when he walks in. And I think that for Daniel, there would be that reverence because like he's just heard about Lestat and how amazing Lestat is, and now he's meeting the actual Lestat, you know?
You know what's crazy? It's just occurring to me after covering the series with you for 2 seasons that they've never met on the show. I think it's because my mind went back to like the end of the 94 movie when Christian Slater goes running out of the apartment, and here comes Tom Cruise floating down into the car. That's a great point. I do want to also bring up because you asked, will Asad Zaman, will Armand be back? Delaney Hales is on that IGN panel, which I found interesting because she even says, I died. I'm dead.
Yeah.
And I know that you've told me and other people in the comments have mentioned that
Lestat.
uh, that oh God, well, Delaney Hale's character, the girl
Claudia.
Claudia. I'm like, Clarice.
Yeah,
Claudia
close.
comes back as a ghost and haunts Louie later on. So I'm curious if she will be kind of in his head the way that Lestat was in his head this season. There's no reason they can't do that. While, listen, I know the world, especially Comic-Con, is uproaring with the return of the dead of a certain character from a certain universe.
Yes.
Robert Downey Jr., of course, returning from the death of Iron Man to play Doctor Doom. But there's no reason that Claudia can't appear in the head of a very damaged, already psychologically vampire in the second season. She could third season. She could appear in Lestat's head. Lestat was right there. Unlike Louie, Lestat was there watching her burn alive.
Yeah, I think that if memory serves me right, and then the people in the comments can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that Claudia does appear in Lestat's mind, but in like future books. It's not, it's not the Vampire Lestat, because that's more about his like origin in his life. But like in, I think either Queen of the Damned, or I think definitely Tale of the Body Thief, we get some Claudia, head Claudia basically. That sounds weird. But we got some new people joining here right here too. We got 19 Echidna. I just found this stream. I liked what they did, but I was headcanoning something more punk horror metal by the way the band was described in the book. Echidna, if you got any examples of some punk horror metal, I think Danny and I would actually like to.
Well, I guess like Ice Nine Kills, maybe like.
Yeah, and then we got
in terms of horror metal,
saying the Misfits.
Oh, the Misfits. Yeah, I mean, how can you? That is punk horror metal. Like
Yeah, but going back to your discussion of Delaney Hale's coming back, Claudia coming back, they're definitely making it seem like Louie is going to have a bigger presence in this season, even though Louie doesn't have as big a presence in the Vampire Lestat book. And we kind of fantasy booked this during our last discussion, where we were talking about like, well, what's going to happen with Louie? How are they going to change it from the book? And I do think that we're going to see interviews from Lestat's perspective. He's going to be interviewed by Daniel, but I think that Lestat's return and taking the center stage is because he's going to try to protect Louie. He's taking the spotlight into him. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. And the idea that you just brought up about perspectives, I like that they went into in that IGN interview about the whole idea of the like unreliable narrator, and how like season 1 was Louie's point of view, season 2 is Armand's point of view, and now we're going to get the truth according to Lestat. And I think it might have been either Rolin Jones or Mark Johnson, but one of them brings up the idea of like, you go to the prom, and if you're asked to recollect your prom is going to be very different now, 25, 30 years later, coming from you, versus, they interview your prom date.
Right.
And I thought about that and I laughed a lot because my prom was very, very different from my perspective and from my prom date's perspective. It was like a whole like weird night. And so I just thought about that and I was like, oh, that actually makes a lot of sense.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, that goes along with what's so great about this show. I've said this multiple times, but even though there's this supernatural element, we're talking about characters that are immortal, the show is really about like relationships, dysfunctional relationships, really like that romance, dealing with your exes. It's a big soap opera. It just happens to be this like epic scale soap opera that takes place over hundreds of years. We got 19 Echidna saying, yes, like the Murder Dolls, not a super well-known band, but exactly what I thought of. The whole look described in the book. with its dark androgyny and horror show related lyrics. I will check out the Murder Dolls. I actually don't know them. Then we got from Wild Majorum, Claudia is definitely going to haunt someone next season. Her last words about killing everyone in the theater was chilling.
Yeah,
Yeah,
true.
so yeah, go ahead.
No, just like I'm just remembering that scene, and like she's basically swearing to kill everyone from beyond the grave. It does not lead you to believe that we've seen the last from her.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that like the first 2 seasons of the show, they like take the essence of the books, and like Rolin Jones says, it's Anne first or whatever. They always go with Anne Rice, but then they're kind of able to have their cake and eat it too, because they flesh out these details. They make the situations more complex. They're able to like use the context of history to change dynamics in the story, but make them more interesting and intriguing, you know? And so I think that going into the Vampire Lestat, even though I said it's my second favorite book, this 3rd season, I think, is going to like take it and elevate it. I'm not going to say it's going to be better than the book, but I think it's going to be this really great fucking experience, because you're going to have like the Armand from the show, which I'm a much bigger fan of Armand of the show from the show than I am of the Armand from the books. And I'm a way bigger fan of Louie from the show. You know, so it's cool. Like this season, I think it's going to have everyone that we like and then some. There's all these other characters that haven't even been fucking introduced yet that are going to be in this next season too. Like some of these characters that are wasted completely in that Queen of the Damned movie. I know Wild Majorum was saying that they like that you know, movie still, but like characters like Marius and stuff, they're totally wasted in that Queen of the Damned book, you know. And we're probably going to meet Akasha too in this season. Do you think that they're going to take the Vampire Lestat book and break it into 2 parts the way that they took Interview with the Damned and broke it into 2 parts?
Interview with the Vampire, you mean?
Wow, I'm just fucking mixing them all up. Go ahead. Interview with the
I'm like,
Vampire.
is
Yes, sir.
Interview with the Damned a book in the series I didn't know about?
Yeah, they got a little lazy with the titles. Let's go next one.
Was
Interview
there
with
a
the
comment
Damned.
in that interview where was there a comment in that interview where they mentioned like 15 to 17 episodes, or were they just
That was
joking
a joke.
around?
Yeah,
okay.
that was a joke.
Because
yeah.
what were there? 16 or 17 episodes for the first 2
Total.
seasons. It was
Yeah.
like 7 episodes and then 8 episodes. So
Yes.
they could very easily do something like that. I mean, I like that length of a season. Isn't the Vampire Lestat going to be 3 seasons? Look, the more seasons, the better, because I love the show. I love covering this show with you. So I'll cover everything. I know that you had mentioned that there was like spin-offs apparently like in the works for the Talamasca and which was another thing they brought up about, you know, Sam Reed has a great line about like, I don't really think Lestat cares about them. And then one of the EPs was like, I think Lestat's a bigger concern for them than they are a concern for Lestat.
Yes.
Lestat just doesn't seem like he lets anything bother him other than his love of Louie.
Pretty much, yeah. He is like the embodiment of ego, you know, and that was kind of one of the funny things. Playing the song for my kids, you know, my daughter has read Interview with the Vampire and she's read the Vampire Lestat, and she's just like, man, he's like so like full of himself, and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of why he's fucking awesome.
So here's a question that I have for you and for the people who are joining us in the comments, and you could all end. I've not read any of the books. Can I just pick up in the Vampire Lestat and read it, knowing what I know from the combination of the 1994 movie and 2 seasons of this show? Can I just pick up the Vampire Lestat and read it to prep for season 3?
Okay, so let's see what they say. I got my answer for that. I would say yes, because when I read the Vampire Lestat, I had just seen the 1994 movie, and that's it. So
okay,
I would say yes. And then Wild Majorum says yes as well.
Okay, so I think I already have that on Audible.
Nice.
I think it's already saved on my like Audible checklist or queue, and okay. So yeah, most of the comments are saying yes, I can. Good. Okay, great. So I think maybe since you consider that one of your favorite books, I would be totally down to, bridge the gap between seasons 2 and seasons 3. We got this like
Nice.
Sam Reed long face music video with some San Diego Comic-Con coverage. I figured let's hop on and talk about it just because I love the show and I miss our weekly discussions. So we could do a book review of it. We've done book reviews on the last cast before. It kind of fits right in with, this series. And I also just finished, I was reading 2 books at the same time. One actually on paper and the other on Audible. So I finished my re-listen to Dark Tower Book 2.
Nice.
By Stephen King. And I finished this other book, which I'll comment on when we're done.
Okay, I'm excited about that. I have I think it's called The Witching Hour is the first book in the Mayfair Witches, and I did listen to a lot of it, and I got kind of caught up in things, and I didn't finish it, but it was good. It was really good. It's a huge fucking book, it's like the Stand size kind of book. I wanted to kind of use it to segue into a discussion about Mayfair Witches. Did you watch any of those interviews or read anything about the Mayfair Witches?
I haven't. I know it's coming back. I think that I will probably just binge Mayfair Witches from the beginning before season 2 comes out.
God help you.
I think that my goal I think we only watched the first 2 or 3 episodes, maybe.
Yeah. Yes.
So I think that part of what I didn't love about it was that we were covering Interview with a Vampire, which was just such a better show structurally, acting and writing wise. Yeah. And they were almost like I couldn't separate Interview with the Vampire from Mayfair Witches.
Yeah.
Given enough time away from Interview with the Vampire, maybe, and also maybe just binging it in one 2-day span, I won't notice all the things that bugged me as much this time. I'll just kind of get into the story quicker because I won't have to wait a week for the next episode.
Yeah, just binge it, just go through it. Maybe drink something, smoke something so you can deal with it. But yeah. I think I might have to do that too. Here's the thing. I'm going to get to a Kidness comment in 1 second, but I wanted to just say, you watch this, Lestat little section, and then you listen to the interview with the cast from Interview with the Vampire. Then you watch the Mayfair Witches trailer, which I did watch that for the second season. I don't know. What Rosaria? What's her fucking name? The main
Alexandria Dario.
Thank you, Alexandria Dario. There's just something about her narration, like while the trailer's going, it just like sounds kind of cheesy. It almost sounds like a direct-to-video kind of movie or something like that. I just wasn't feeling it.
I never thought she was a great actress.
Yeah.
And she's like a kind of like a scream queen. She's been in a bunch of horror movies. She's actually the one in Texas Chainsaw 3D who has the infamous "Go get him, cuz" line.
Yes.
But then between True Detective season 1 and White Lotus,
I was really
White Lotus, kind of blown away by the 180 that I saw from her as an actress.
Right.
And I was really shocked at how much I appreciated her acting. So I think, again, maybe I'll be a lot more receptive to her on the Mayfair Witches, trying to binge through it, where if one thing kind of annoys me, I don't have to sit on it for 6 days waiting for another episode.
Good point.
And plus, and again, this kind of ties back to the MCU, where when you're doing universe levels of storytelling, you're always looking for how is it going to tie back. So if the Mayfair Witches and the vampires from Interview with the Vampire are ever going to interact, I want to understand that when it happens. And if it means I have to watch, I've watched worse shows.
Yeah, MCU shows, yeah. Let's get address some of the comments now. We're getting some comments now. So Echidna said the show did a great job preparing people for the Vampire Lestat. In my opinion, the only character I didn't know about was Lestat's mother. She's a big part of the book, The Vampire Lestat. While Majorum says, I'm a Mayfair Witches apologist. There was a band, Quintron, that was the hotel house band, and the band is great live. So just for that. Okay. I guess there's a band in the show. Probably need to watch more than 4 episodes to really start noticing them. I didn't think Mayfair was as bad as people make it out to be. Chrissy said, I think Mayfair Witches' quality could improve. It was definitely a struggle. And I know what you mean about Alexandra's narration. It's too kittenish. Thank you. That's a really good adjective to use right there, Chrissy. And then I'm having a very difficult time with how different her personality was from the book. I agree. I had only read I don't know, maybe 10% of the book, maybe 15%. And it just seemed very different from her character on the show. I was like, whoa, okay, this is different. One of the things they did on the show too is there's 2 male characters in the book, and they basically made they put them together. And I can't remember the guy's fucking name. His name's Scipion or something. And he's the African American guy that's on the show that when he would touch things, he would get glimpses into. He'd have psychic visions.
Yeah.
You know, so he's a combination of 2 characters, a Talamasca guy, and then this guy that falls in love with the main character. But I'm like you, Danny. I'll do my homework. We've watched some shit on this channel just so that we could kind of get a comprehensive perspective on something. So I love fucking Interview with the Vampire so much that I'll watch Mayfair Witches just to kind of get into that immortal universe.
Yeah.
What do you call? Go ahead.
I'm with you.
So I was going to say, did you have anything else you wanted to say about this show? I think we should kind of tell people, especially if they're new like Echidna, what else they could check out on our channel. But did you have anything else you want to talk about with Interview with the Vampire or season 3?
I think we might have drained the veins, so to speak, on the music video and the Comic-Con coverage that we got. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to season 3. I'm looking forward to now getting into the book Vampire Lestat. And yeah, I'll definitely rewatch Mayfair Witches. As far as what's on our channel right now, we have a bunch of different things. We were covering M. Night Shyamalan movies and doing what we called the M. Nights of Summer. And that is building up to next week when Trap comes out. Actually, this Thursday, Thursday night, Friday, Trap is coming out. So that'll probably be our next big review together. Right. And then to honor the 50th anniversary of the release of what, in my opinion, is one of the greatest horror films of all time, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, we have been covering the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series. We have 2 videos up on our channel now. One is covering the original film and part 2. The other just went up this morning, is covering the lesser sequels, parts 3 and 4. And then we're going to have one more video in that series where we cover the Michael Bay Platinum Dune remakes from 2003 and I believe 2005. Yeah. The remake and then the prequel to the remake. And then just one last thing. Last night, I got to go to IFC Center in Manhattan. One of my all-time favorite movies is Sleepaway Camp, and writer-director Robert Hiltzik was there to do a live Q&A after the movie. I recorded the Q&A, and I just threw it up on the channel. Nice. So if you're a Sleepaway Camp fan, that's about 13 minutes of the writer-director answering questions. And speaking of summer camp, I just want to pimp out this book. It's called The Summerside Lake Massacre by L.R.J. Allen. Okay. This was the quickest read I think I've ever had for a book on paper. I read this in maybe 3 sittings across a week. It reads like you are reading the screenplay to a early 80s camp slasher movie. Okay. The writer says in his introduction that this book is exactly what you think it is. I grew up watching 80s horror movies and I wrote an 80s horror book. And if you're a fan of The Burning or Sleepaway Camp or any of the Friday the 13th sequels, It's just a super fun, very quick read, and I hope it's like the beginning of like a series because I'd love to read more of them. It feels like a Fear Street type book, but made more for adults than for kids. It's called The Summerside Lake Massacre. Well worth checking out.
Okay. I haven't heard of that, but that's a pretty glowing review. It's funny, that's quite a gulf to go from Anne Rice's, Interview with the Vampire and then Mayfair Witches, then to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But we do cover that on this channel. We cover like pretty much everything horror. We love highbrow
and
stuff.
Alexandria Dario brings those series together.
Oh shit, she's the missing
Mayfair
link.
Witches to Texas Chainsaw 3D. You
Oh
get
my
Alexandria
God.
Daddario. She was also in
Perfect.
True Detective Season 1, which we covered on this show, along with Night Country. So
Oh my
really,
God.
the backbone of our channel is Alexandria Daddario. That's what I've gotten out of this last few minutes of conversation.
Dude, guys, if there are any creatives out there that are good with like Canva or Photoshop or anything like that, if y'all want to put like a picture of Alexandra Daddario inside our little Lasercast logo, that'd be just the fucking icing on the cake. But I love having y'all in here commenting. It's like, oh, wow, we actually make a show that people want to watch. That's nice. If you want to check out our other videos that are not Interview with the Vampire related, we'd love that too. But we just really appreciate your time. I know you could watch millions of videos that are out today, but you just decided to spend some time with us. So thank you so much. And we will, of course, cover Interview with the Vampire Season 3 when it comes out. But until then, make sure you're subscribed to the Lastercast. We'll see y'all